Okay, in this video we are going to be combining integers using integer chips. You can see that these are the colored integer chips. The red represents negative integers and the yellow represents positive integers. Okay, so let's start with combining the same signs. We have 2 plus 4. They're both positive numbers, so we're going to use the positive integer chips. So there is 2. For each integer, we're going to put them on a separate line. So the first line contains the 2 positive chips for the positive 2. Then our second line is going to contain 4 positive integer chips to represent the 4 positives. So there's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Since they are all positive, we just count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 2 plus 4 equals 6. Okay, let's do our second example. Negative 2 plus negative 4. These are both negative integers. So we start with the negative 2, and we're going to use the red chips because they represent negative integers. So the first line represents the negative 2. Our second line will represent the negative 4. And you want to try to keep them lined up. You can see that they're all red, meaning they're all negative integers. So just count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And negative 2 plus negative 4 equals a negative 6. Okay, so let's try some examples excuse me, that are on your integer models worksheet. And the first one is 5 plus 3. Now we've already modeled these problems using the number lines. And now we're going to model them using integer chips. So our first one, they're both positive. So we have 5 positives. So what you can do, since you are drawing these, is you can draw 5 circles. And then inside the circles put plus signs to represent that they are positive. And our second integer is a positive 3, so we're going to start our positive 3 on a new line. Try to keep them lined up. So you'll draw 3 circles and draw plus signs in them. Since all of our integers are positives, they have all plus signs in them, then we're just going to count them up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 plus 3 equals positive 8. Our next example is negative 5 minus 3. So we have a negative 5 and we have a negative 3. So they're both same signs. They're all negatives. So we have 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you do 5 circles on the first line and you'll put negative signs inside them. And then our second integer is a negative 3. So we'll start a new line and we'll draw 3 negative circles. They're all negative, so just count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. Now you'll notice our next one is negative 5 plus negative 3. That's the same one we did. Negative 5 integers and negative 3 integers. This is just another way of writing it. You can show it as subtraction, which is the same as adding the opposite. The opposite of 3 is a negative 3. Or you can show it as adding the negative. Another way you can do your models, I don't like to draw the little circles. They take too much time. You can just put the signs. So for this problem, if I want negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I draw 5 negative symbols. And for negative 3, for the second integer on the second line, I draw 3 negative symbols. They're all negative, count them up, and you still get negative 8. So this is another way that you can model it if you're not into drawing the circles. Okay, these you definitely need to take notes in your journal. Excuse me. When combining integers with different signs, you need to know that a red chip, which is a negative, and a yellow chip, which is a positive, equal what we call a zero pair. They zero out. A positive and a negative equal 0. So when we are combining integers and we have any 0 pairs, we have to remove them from the problem. We call it loop it and pull it out. You put a loop around it and you pull it out with an arrow. So make sure that you have this in your notes. Pause the video if you need to. Okay, so you need to remove all zero pairs before combining them to get your answer. So how many zero pairs do we have in this problem? Well, there's one zero pair because a positive and a negative make a zero. Here's another zero pair, and we have one more zero pair. So we have 3 zero pairs. So in this problem, our first integer was -4. And to that, we added 3 positives. And when we took out our zero pairs, it left us with only one negative. So -4 plus 3 equals -1. Okay, let's do some practice. These practice problems are on your models notes worksheet. And excuse me, instead of actually pulling out the integers, I'm just going to write positive and negative signs. So our first integer is a +5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 positives. That's going to go my first line. My second integer is a -3. So I'll do 3 negatives on the second line. Then ask yourself, I have positives and negatives, so I have 0 pairs. How many 0 pairs are there? There are 3. You can loop each individual 0 pair, or you could do all of them together, which is what I like to do. I have 3 0 pairs, so I loop it and I pull it out. And what am I left with? 2 positives. So 5 plus a -3 equals a +2. Okay, let's do the next one. 5 positives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is a -3, so 3 negatives. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 0 pairs, so I'm going to loop them, pull them out, and I'm left with 2 positives. So 5 minus 3 equals 2. You'll notice that these first two problems are the same, they're just written 2 different ways. Okay, our third one is -5, so we want 5 negatives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to combine that with 3 positives. So I'll start my second line, 1, 2, 3. When you keep them lined up, it's really, really easy to see your 0 pairs. We have 3 0 pairs, so I'm going to loop it, pull it out, and I'm left with 2 negatives. So -5 plus 3 equals -2. Okay, 5 minus -3. So we start with 5 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we want the opposite of a -3. And we know that the opposite of a -3 is a +3. So on our second line, we want to represent +3. Since we have all positives, there are no 0 pairs, because remember, you have to have a positive and a negative for a 0 pair. So I just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 5 minus a -3 equals 8. Okay? And the next one, the last problem, -5 minus a -3. So I'm going to start with a -5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative signs. And I want the opposite of a -3. The opposite of a -3 is a +3. 1, 2, 3. This time I do have 0 pairs. I have 3 0 pairs. So I'm going to loop them, pull them out, and I'm left with 2 negatives. Oops, you can't see that, can you? So 5 minus a -3 equals -2. Okay, let's write an expression for the problem modeled below. Always start with the first line. These are red integer chips, which means that they are negatives, and there are 4 of them, so we have -4. Our second line represents our second integer. They are yellow, so it is 3 positives. So we have a -4 plus 3. Now we want to find our answer. So we need to take out our 0 pairs because there are positives and negatives. Here's 1 0 pair, 2 0 pairs, 3. So we're going to loop it, pull it out, and we're left with 1 negative. So -4 plus 3 equals -1.